Hey guys, and welcome to my new workshop. My name is Surpix, aka Fabian, and this workshop is called How to Fold. So what we will talk about, what will we talk about in this workshop? So first of all, I will start it off with an introduction about folding, talking about folding. Why do I think it's a necessary topic to talk about? And then we will take a look at different spots, some pre-flop spots, some flop spots, some turn spots, and some river spots in the following videos. Now, the spots that are coming up, I think they increase in difficulty. I would say, like the pre-flop spots are probably, if you have done a lot of pre-flop work, you will know the spots. Same like on the flop, you might know some of the stuff, but I'm trying to pick some of the details that a lot of people miss. But if you feel like you've worked a lot on your pre-flop game or you've worked a lot on your flop game, feel free to skip those parts and then to watch the turn and river videos. But in general, I would really recommend watching the whole workshop, of course. Now, let's start it off. Why do I make a workshop about folding? Well, after my last workshop, which was called Finding Aggression, I also wanted to do a series on how to deal with aggression. And while many of you probably expected to see some aggressive raising and floating, I first wanted to focus on our main tool against aggression, which is folding. Now you might think, a whole workshop about folding? Seriously? And not even by Jay Nandes? Well, in this workshop I will try to convince you why this topic is important and worth talking about. Folding is part of a balanced approach. Now, this might seem super obvious to some of you, but for me it was a game changer when I fully understood what that means. When I started learning more about game theory, it felt like all the buzz is about calling and raising the right frequencies, and that's what I would focus on. Foolishly misapplying concepts of minimum defense frequency and range construction. After calling down dozens of stacks and wondering why they always had it in my PLO 50 games, I started to realize not only do I have to make sure I call and raise appropriate frequencies in each spot, no, if I wanted to play balanced, I also need to make sure I am folding with the right frequencies. In certain spots, it's very easy to end up with a range full of bluff catchers, and while many of you may struggle to call enough, I was always a little bit more on the curious side. In other words, at heart I was the biggest calling station, and I needed a way to discipline myself. So, don't get me wrong, most people, including myself, will end up overfolding a lot of spots. Sometimes for a good reason, sometimes because we don't know better. The big problem is that I see that people construct their ranges very poorly and they end up folding the wrong hands. So what I want to do in this workshop is shed some light on what hands to fold in what situation, so that we can all please our inner weak tight knit and stop being concerned about overfolding or being exploited. Solid ranges enable folding. Wait, what? Didn't you say in your last workshop that solid ranges enable aggression? Yes, I did. And I don't think that is contradictory at all. It's more like solid ranges enable everything. Isn't that wonderful? So what do I mean by that? It means that if we construct our range in a solid way, including aggressive floating, raising, but also trapping, we allow ourselves to fold some more marginal hands. You can find a good example for that in my PLO Tools series, where I talk about check raising. There you can see that Monk Solver ends up check folding slightly more when he is giving a smaller check raise sizing and thus a higher check raising frequency. Because he realizes more equity by raising than by calling, he is allowed to fold a few more marginal hands on the flop. Also think about the last workshop where I talk about how constantly missing low frequency plays will make you too passive. The same is true when it comes to folding. When we constantly miss our low frequency folds, well, let's say a bad top pair or a bad flush draw, it might not seem like a big problem because all of these hands will be close in EV to a call or a raise. But if we always make those calls, we end up weakening our range significantly, opening ourselves up to aggression from our opponent. One core concept when it comes to folding or just to poker in general is that playability and blockers are more important than absolute hand strength. Very often we prefer having a small chance to improve and then value bet on later streets over a hand that has a decent absolute hand strength but no playability. You will see what that means exactly in the following videos. Now that being said, have fun with the following videos and I hope you enjoy this workshop.